Here with me is Bruce Thomas, Professor of Architecture in the Department of Architecture and Design.
What can you tell me about the history of Chandler-Ullmann?
Chandler-Ullmann was built in 1885. The architect was a Quaker from Philadelphia named Addison Hutton, who was also the architect of the chapel. The building was conceived by William Chandler, who was the professor of chemistry here. And at the time, most chemistry buildings were small, maybe no more than 12 by 16 feet, because they tended to blow up, and so we wanted to minimize damage. Chandler had the idea to build a very large chemistry building, and he modeled it after a building in Gießen, Germany. And when this building was completed in 1885, it, along with the chem lab in Gießen, were the world's largest and most comprehensive chem labs. The building won a Paris gold medal in 1889, the same exhibition that the Eiffel Tower was at. It won the medal for being the best chemistry building in the world. Chandler's innovations were in the nature of teaching chemistry. He invented a modular desk system. He had individual lab stations that had venting at each station through windows. He had a asphalt-lined flue system. He had all sorts of innovations that he invented essentially for the teaching of chemistry, which allowed this building to happen. And Hutton was so impressed with the idea of the building that he deliberately decided to make the building step back. By that I mean that there is very little ornament on this building on the outside, unlike, say, the chapel. The only ornament is a red brick frieze that runs around. And so all the chimneys that you see are, once upon a time, were individual venting for lab stations. And so that's why there's so many of them. The building got an addition in 1937. It was the Chandler Laboratory until 1937 when the wing was added. Originally it was T-shaped, and when they added the wing in 1937 it became shaped like the letter F. And that was named for Mr. Ullmann. I have no idea who Mr. Ullmann was. So then it became Chandler-Ullmann. It stopped being a chem lab in the early 1970s. And at that time, the Department of Art and Architecture moved from Copay Hall to here, and now we share the building with psychology. At the time the building was built and when it was used as a chem lab, most of the floors were open spaces with a modular bench system for each lab station. Since then it's been chopped up for all sorts of stuff, not very nicely chopped up. There are remnants of what a fine building it once was. The original structure is there, of course, and you can see on the ground floor the low flat barrel vaults that hold the building up essentially. Rumor has it that there is still sand in there. Sand once upon a time was between the floors, and it was for a fire suppression system for a chemical fire, so that you wouldn't use water, which would be disastrous. And so you just supposedly pull on a chain and release sand to block out the fire. There's a couple of those chains around that don't connect anything now. And who knows if the sand's still there. Rumor has it that it's there, but I don't know. Nobody knows whether it's still there. There's a really nice feature on the floor we're on, the top floor, that unfortunately is hidden. It had what was called a hammer beam ceiling, which is an open wood frame system right up to the peak of the roof, which is all still there, but now it's hidden by a drop ceiling here, and you can see the little feet of it sort of poking down if you go inside the rooms and look at them. And this past year, when we had part of the roof off and the ceiling, you could actually see up into there, and all the wood's still there in beautiful condition.